Hello YouTube, welcome back. Now, as you can tell, I'm definitely not on my farm today. I've come to see the farm of one of my subscribers, one of my most active commenters on the channel, Matty Kelby. Judging by his comments, it didn't surprise me that he had a macadamia farm, but it's how and where he has his macadamia farm that absolutely fascinated me, and I had to come out and meet him. And here's the man himself, Matty.
Nice to meet you, Dan.
Thank you very much for inviting me onto your farm, because this is absolutely fascinating. I had a wonderful drive out here to Backmead.
North of Casino.
North of Casino. Casino's the nearest town?
Yeah, so we're roughly halfway between Casino and Kyogle.
Right.
But probably just a little bit closer to Casino. We're actually still in the Richmond Valley Shire.
Yep. And your family's had farms here or this farm here for over 100 years? Or?
Yeah, the one across the road was the family farm that was bought in the 1924.
Wow.
And then this side of the road my grandfather bought in the 1960s.
And it's always been cattle till now?
No, he used to grow corn down on the flat.
Right.
Cattle, because he had to, he didn't like them.
Right. A lot of cattle farmers don't like their cattle much.
No. I'm sick of opening and shutting gates, and with Mum getting on in age, and and me with my job, I'm sick of working 84-hour weeks. I've been doing that for 7 years.
Yeah.
So...
And like me, you're an absent farmer some of the time. But you work a lot further away. You work in Western Australia.
Yeah, in the Pilbara, northwest.
Yeah, well, that's one hell of a commute.
Yeah, it's about 7 hours to Perth on the plane.
So Perth to Gold Coast?
No, Ballina to Sydney, and then Sydney to Perth.
Sydney to Perth, right.
All the way.
Okay, yeah. That's one hell of a commute. So you get out here, what, every couple of weeks or something? Or just when you can?
No, I've sort of been stuck over here this year a bit because of COVID.
Yeah.
The original plan was to plant autumn, and then this time of year I'll actually stop.
Yeah.
Because it starts to dry out, and then you risk losing young trees.
Of course, yeah.
So plant in autumn, right sort of through to now.
Yeah.
During summer I come home and we do the composting and a bit of mowing and whatnot. And
yeah.
Spray a few weeds.
I bet you're not a fan of planting in spring.
No, I won't do it.
No. I tried and I failed.
Tim's been very good with me working around that.
That's Tim Hills, who we've seen on the Macadamia show before. But so we've got how big? I mean, we're looking over the whole macadamia plantation here. So far, right.
There's another side of that hill that's coming, but hasn't even been prepared yet.
Right.
So I just fence this off with an electric fence. I go through and mark out my rows.
Yep.
By hand with a roller welding wire, a tape measure, and a couple of star pickets.
That's what I did too. Yeah, I did tent pegs, but same thing. Yeah.
As you can see, if you look straight diagonally down the row.
Yeah.
500 metres, half a K. It's pretty good, pretty accurate.
Yeah.
No GPS, none of that.
Do you know how many trees we're looking at here?
2,500.
In this lot.
In this area with what's just been planted. Yeah.
So it's a substantial farm.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was obviously you planned this out, but you had a lot of guts to plant macadamias this far west.
I'm not the first.
You're not the first?
Not the first, no.
Right, because all I drove past for about an hour was cattle farms.
Well, actually, once we finish this up, if you got a little bit of time, we could go for a drive.
Yeah. Oh, well.
I'll show you a farm that's got similar soil to this.
Yeah.
It was planted in the early 1990s.
Right. Now the soil isn't red, but it's
it's
alluvial, is it?
It's a brown clay that come up on the soil test.
Right.
It's my agronomist thinks it's quite. I've never seen any sand in it.
Yeah.
It's reasonably free draining.
Right. Because drainage is meant to be quite important.
Yes.
For macas, but yeah, I mean it feels nice under it's soft. You know,
it's just been slashed. It's been allowed to grow for the last 6 months, out of control. So
yeah, I'm still catching up on parts of my farm too, so I understand what you're talking about. Now, you and all the viewers will be able to see that these trees are of different sizes and shapes and everything else. Yep. So, did you plant them at the same time, or no? Right.
No. So when I started off with this, I did some research and initially pointed towards cross-pollination.
Yep.
In the future,
which is pretty wise.
Yeah, this is going to be my full-time job. So as the agronomist said, it might be a pain to pick up.
Yep.
But it's better to have a good crop than a a so-so crop. The other thing with so many different varieties is we weren't sure what was going to do well out here.
Right.
So rather than put all your eggs in one basket,
Yeah.
spread the risk a bit.
Sure. Yeah. So what are we looking at up the top here? This is the very top of your block.
The 816. These are 18 months old. They've copped a bit of a prune. I actually quite like this variety. It seems to do really well out here.
So it grows vigorously enough, from what I'm told.
It does.
But when it's an adult, it has a fairly small root ball. So interesting to see how that might go in soil like this. But they look healthy.
I've got some 3.5-year-old ones in the bottom of the hill. I could show you later.
Right, we'll go down the hill and take a look.
It's the other end though.
Well, no, that's all right. Well, let's start moving down. It's you can explain a couple of these varieties to us as we go.
These are 849s, and they're about, these 4 or 2 years old.
Right. So hang on,
18
we're
months.
talking 4 foot, maybe 5 foot.
Getting between 5 and 6 foot.
Yeah. And have you done whole rows of a single variety here,
Yeah.
Matt?
Yeah, single variety, and then we'll go to another variety in the next row.
Yep.
We decided to try a few of the new varieties. So J's down the bottom, P, G, MCT1.
Right.
And they're planted in between a Hawaiian and an A variety. So
Yeah. I'd like to see what you're saying about your G's, because some of your comments in in the channel, you aren't as impressed with them as a lot of people are. It seems to be this rock star variety, and I'm starting to worry a little bit.
no, not at all.
That
These are
it
the
might-
rock stars right here.
What are these ones here?
These are MCT1s.
They look like MCT ones too. They bush up a lot.
They do.
And
They've just turned 2 years old.
right.
Now, the funny story behind these were, we planted them on the 10th of June, 2019.
Yep.
Now, when we plant, we drill a
That
10-inch...
you planted them in the middle of hell. That was the drought, wasn't it?
It was actually, it was like this. It was still a bit of moisture in the ground.
Really?
Yeah.
Not on my farm.
It wasn't until a couple of months later things started to dry out and get really bad. But
Yeah.
what we do, we use a 10-inch auger.
Yep.
We go along, mark out all the holes, drill them out.
Yep.
And then when we plant, we fill 10-litre buckets of water with a tablespoon of water crystals and a handful of compost.
Okay.
We leave it there for half an hour, let the crystals expand in that while we lay all the trees out.
Yeah.
Put them in the ground, then backfill soil halfway up the root ball,
Yeah.
then tip your bucket of water and crystals in.
And then fill the rest.
Put the soil back in,
Yeah.
then go along with the mower, mulch all up underneath the trees, then come along with the tractor and the bucket full of compost,
Yeah.
and then just put 10 or 20 kilos around it.
Is this manure or is it?
That's a cow manure based compost called Fortis Compost from Grassdale Fertilisers in Dalby.
I've heard of Grassdale. Yeah. Yeah.
I might give you a bucket to take back if you want.
Oh no, it's all right.
No?
It just, but it's good stuff. I mean, if it's got manure base and it's got some microbes and things, then that's
The only thing, this being a clay based soil, is we've got to be careful of phosphorus build-up. So
Yes. Yeah.
Other than that, the soil's really good. It retains nutrients. It's just that phosphorus that
Yeah.
sort of worried about. But
Macas are funny things, aren't they? They're a proteus, so they don't like phosphorus much. But on volcanic soils, it's all so locked up in the soil, you actually have to feed it a fair bit of phosphorus.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a bit strange. So this is an entire row of MCT ones here.
And there's another one just down there, which there's probably better ones down there.
Right. Well, let's keep moving and see what we've got. I mean, but you must have you weren't planting one row at a time, because these are babies.
Yeah.
What are these fellas?
These are A203s.
Okay. Now
So-
this is an interesting variety. This one. This is, according to my agronomist, it's a tree with a good habit. It flowers like crazy when it comes to pollinating.
Starts
things.
flowering about 18 months in the ground.
Really,
Yeah.
And it'll crop in 3 years. So I'm told, and the MCT ones over there say they can crop in 2.5 years, according to a couple of growers in New South Wales. But we'll see how good they are.
Yeah, well, I'm looking around. There's plenty of flowers on these further down on the older trees.
Right.
The MCT ones.
Do you expect them to
probably-
flower? There's nothing. I can't see baby flowers on them for this spring.
No, we'll wait till September and see what happens.
Right.
If not, it's probably just another year. But they're quite happy here.
Yeah. The grass you've got growing here is the original pasture grass, is it?
Yeah.
You're lucky. It doesn't look like it's Soteria at all.
We do get patches of terrier.
Yeah. What do you do with it?
Just mow it.
Oh.
It'd just be like a patch here, a patch down there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to get rid of mine, but it would mean getting rid of a lot. What's this row here?
A38.
Right. Isn't that funny? They're a very upright tree, and you can already see it. It's reaching for the stars. Yeah. That's over 6 foot.
I think that's actually a 203 that got mixed in there, to be honest.
That might be.
Yeah,
right.
The nursery I got these from. Their quality control was a bit
skew-if.
ordinary.
Right. But some of them must be A38. I mean, this one just wants to go straight up.
You can tell the difference by these leaves that are curled over.
Yeah. Well,
Not every leaf will do it, but
the curled over leaves are sometimes on a few A varieties, though. I find them on A16s.
I mean, if
they curl over.
If you look at that, they look a bit like a fat A38.
Yeah.
Every now and again, you will get the odd one that curls right over on itself.
And so that suggests to you A203.
Yeah, that's the way to tell. Also, they're not as upright. They're more sort of spreading and a bit wild, which you probably see down there a bit more in depth. But this is actually starting to flower.
Yeah.
And these are only 18 months in the ground.
Yeah. So the A203s you got because what attracted you about them? Early cropping or right?
Absolutely.
And MCT ones are early cropping, so
yeah.
But you've picked 849s, which definitely aren't. They're one of the slowest to crop. So you're just balancing out, I guess.
Balancing out, yeah. Just spreading the risk.
Yeah. And so the 849s and the MCT ones will be late droppers.
Yep.
And the 816s are kind of in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got any other early droppers? Because the 8203 will drop early to mid.
I don't think so.
You don't think? You think the 8203 is late?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I haven't looked that far into it.
Yeah.
I think they're all sort of mid to late, apart from the 816 from memory.
Right. Is this an example of the compost you're talking about?
Yes.
Right. It's good black stuff.
It is. That'll disappear in 6 months. The worms get into it.
Yeah. Which is exactly what you want. I don't have much worm activity. I'm trying to stimulate it. And this row is what?
These would be 203s again.
Okay.
So I did 3 rows of A's and 3 rows of Hawaiians.
Right. Now tell me about this white shield you've got around the trunk.
We leave that on there for the first 12 months just to get a bit of size in the trunk and keep any cold air out, suppress any lateral growth like suckers and that.
I was going to say it suppresses suckers, does it? Yeah, because I'm constantly ripping them out of my saplings. That's a good idea.
Well, the herbicide that I use is a Basta, haloxafop, ammonia sulfate,
cocktail,
oil and dye mixed with water. You can actually spray that on your sucker shoots.
Yeah.
When they're actively flushing like that, it'll just burn them off.
Yeah.
It won't harm the tree.
Yeah, I've noticed phosphoric acid when you spray for Phytophthora burns off sucker shoots as well. But same sort of deal, I suppose.
We've got 3 rows of 849s.
Okay.
There's some older ones there, and then MCT one again.
Tim Hills was saying that these are a bit of a bugger to graft, these 849s.
Yeah, I think I've got 400 or 500 on order.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, they're a good tree in the area. They
I did order 2,000 trees from him, and there'll be more after that.
Wow. Yeah, I noticed. I think when we did the episode at the nursery, he said some of those trees are going to be yours.
Yep. So I think he's just under halfway through filling that order.
It's funny. I've planted the trees I got from Tim, and the slowest to take off have been the G.
Okay.
The slowest, and I've got all of the new ones. I have R as well. R is more vigorous.
That's the only one we haven't got here, but
I like R. I think it's a good variety. But
I might get a couple to plant on the back hill and see what happens. But
yeah, are these 849s too?
Yes, these are 849s.
But clearly planted before.
18 months old.
Right.
So early on, before I got these, we had a heap of holes here that didn't have anything in them. And the agronomist actually suggested to backfill the soil.
Yep.
And then put a couple of compost into the hole and then leave it for a few months until you're ready to plant. So these are just leapt out of the ground.
So it builds up microbes clearly and worm activity.
Yeah, and the worms come in and then obviously change the soil structure when they start digesting and moving the compost and all that around.
Now, I forgot to ask the spacing. This is 8 metres, right?
Yep.
By what?
4.
8 by 4. So, okay, that's standard conservative spacing pretty much. That's what I did for my trial plot. So it did look familiar. I mean, you've got it very geometric. I mean, you could almost farm rows up or down the hill.
Yep. No GPS.
You just hand and eye.
No. Tape measure and
tape
a roll of welding wire.
Yeah, amazing. So do you think in the future you'll crop up and down the hill, or you'll harvest up and down the hill, or you're going to try going
straight up and down?
Straight up and down these rows. But you could almost do either, couldn't you? Depending on the width of your machinery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing too behind the 8 metre row is, after a bit of research, macadamias don't get real big in clay soils.
Right.
And that was evident by the farm I've seen at Yorklea. There's 30-year-old trees down there that look like 10-year-old trees in the red soil, but they still produce just
But they
as
still
much.
crop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That farm's 7,000 trees.
Yeah.
And they're doing between 70 and 100 tonne a year.
Yeah.
But they're a lot of 344 down there, so that's why so much variation. But it does quite well.
Yeah. And see, this is why a couple of farmers, or one farmer in particular, he was on this beautiful red soil at Pierce's Creek, and I mean, it was almost like he didn't appreciate what he had. He had this beautiful fertile land, and he said, I wouldn't plant on red soil again because the trees grow out of control.
Yeah, they do.
And my gut instinct is, well, if the trees are growing happily and they're clearly getting a lot of nutrients, then they'll probably bear more as well. He didn't think so, and clearly you don't think so.
No.
And then there's people on the mid-north coast in around the Nambucca area who are getting great results out of small trees. So I think you might be onto something. But the real question is rainfall out here. I mean, what are the stats for rainfall in around this area? Do you know the average per year?
I know when we planted, this is a little bit off course, but I know when we planted these MCT1s, going back to what I said before with the wet hole,
yeah,
they didn't get any rain for 6 months.
Yeah.
They were only, little tackers like the ones we just seen.
Yeah.
And they all survived. But on average, I think it's around 11 to 1,200 mil a year. It's not much less than what you're getting on the coast.
No, it's more than Bundaberg though.
Yeah.
Bundaberg's about 1,000 mils, and and that's about what Sydney gets. So, I mean, that's enough to sustain Maccas. But you don't have a irrigation plan here as such.
Not the short term.
Right.
I've got acres in this block, and I've got more land over there I can plant out around that hill and then further beyond.
Yeah.
If you ever look on any old maps out around this area north of Casino and you see an old airstrip,
Yep.
that's actually it.
This was an airstrip.
Yeah.
Right.
From where the Macca's down there.
Yeah.
Right down past that pump shed. And
Well, you can almost see, can't you? It's a decent flat bit of land.
yeah, my grandfather used to just the strip out to the army, I think it was, and they used to land caribous, and then in the 60s they had a crop duster. There used to be an old house near that pump shed.
Yeah. Have you attracted any interest out of your neighbours? They're going, what the hell's this guy doing?
Yeah, Christmas party 2 or 3 years ago. What are these lights on the hill at night? Because I was drilling all these holes out at night. And I think I did 1,200 holes in one hit.
With an auger?
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, I know that sounds like a lot, but really it takes me about 100 hours to mark out and drill 1,000 holes.
It's
okay, not that much.
2 solid weeks' work.
Well, you remember I work an 84-hour week, so for me it's probably a week and a bit.
Yeah. Seriously though, it's very accurate for what you're doing if you're doing it at night as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of, did you have to water these saplings, or have you had to water these saplings?
No, just plant them late summer if it's a wet year.
Yeah.
It can be a bit hairy if the days go over 30 or 35.
Yeah.
With a heat wave, you will lose a few.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
But from autumn through to, what's the date today? The 7th or the 8th of July?
July, yep.
I wouldn't plant past another week.
Yeah.
This nice cool temperature into a wet hole.
Yeah.
And then covering it up with mulch and compost.
That sees it through spring?
Never have to water them again.
Yeah. I think the mulch must be key to it, because look, when I planted in spring 19 when I just bought Nutkin Farm, and it was, let's plant something. And I've heard you can plant in spring and autumn, but there's no way I'll plant in spring again. And these 246s that I planted were tough as nails. They're meant to be tough as nails. Had 2 survive out of about 26 or something like that. Oh, what a waste of money. But yeah, autumn's the time, definitely. Absolutely. Yeah. So when would you start planting in autumn? February, March? When
I've actually planted in December. It was 18 months ago, but it was a wet summer.
Yeah.
So
the drought had broken then.
Yeah, that's touch and go with that.
Yeah.
Depending on if it's a wet year or not. But yeah, probably March, maybe early April when it starts to cool down, and then beyond.
Right. Well, this is good. We'll keep moving down because this is fascinating. What's the row here? Is this still 849?
No, MCT ones.
Right.
So
again, that bushy habit. Look at that bushy habit. Yeah.
See, I'm 183.
Yep.
It just turned 2.
It's 6.5 foot.
Good solid trunk on them.
They do bulk out.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Really nice.
You've got a classic serrated leaf, so that's one of the hallmarks of it.
We're going to plant a lot more of these over the other side. We're just really happy with the way they are.
Right.
It's super hardy and tough as nails.
So list me all the varieties you've got here. You've got MCT1, 849, A203, A38. That's what we've seen so far.
GJP, and then there's a single row of Dado down the bottom.
Right. Why'd you pick P? Just for interest?
Yeah, just to experiment.
Yeah.
That's all the new varieties were. So we just planted 2 rows of each.
Yeah.
Just to see what would
see what it's like.
And then we could work out other blocks. And like everything I base this off, the fertiliser program and everything that I'm following, is all based off roughly what Garth does.
Yeah.
Does his 4 feeds a year of compost. I'm using a different fertiliser, but I'm still doing similar sort of things.
I was going to say, what are you feeding these things other than the compost?
Okay.
Is it an eco growth or?
No, there's 2 chemical fertilisers that were recommended.
Yep.
One being Nitrofosca Special.
Yeah.
And the other being a Yarra Liver calcium nitrate.
Don't know that one. Wow, calcium nitrate.
So our magnesium to calcium ratio's a bit higher in this soil.
Right.
So we need to give them a bit more calcium to...
So no dolomite?
No.
But do you put ag lime down?
No.
Is the soil acid?
No, the pH is about right.
Great. Oh, well, that's another advantage you've got over volcanic soil then, because... Yeah.
The only thing is we've got low phosphorus, which is probably a good thing.
It's good for these.
I'm not an agronomist, so I don't really know, but anyway.
No, these trees don't like a lot of phosphorus.
And low organic matter, just below the threshold for macas. So that's why any leftover holes we've got that I haven't planted out.
You're busy fermenting pots of microbes, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So these rogue G's of yours that are misbehaving, are we anywhere near them?
Yeah, okay. We're getting close.
Because I saw your comments on them, and I think, because of the amount of interest G is getting, and you see these, I don't know if you've looked at the Hort Innovation website where they're leading farmers by the nose saying this will get you X $1,000 a hectare. Yeah. They're showing dollar figures to farmers rather than kernel recovery or anything else like that. And you think, you know what, we're not so dumb.
No.
But everyone's going for G and MCT1. They're the two leading varieties.
These are G's.
These are G's,
so
right?
I've just gone through and pruned absolute shit out of them.
Well, what's this? This is really...
Yeah.
See, I've got J's that look like this, but this is...
They just want to grow upright.
I'm just standing back here so to just... Bloody hell, look at that. Sorry, yeah, what were you saying?
You're right. I've got another row down here I haven't pruned as hard, but
yeah,
when they come out of the nursery, they're just multiple litres and they just want to keep growing up and competing like a phase, really.
Yeah. So you've pruned, okay, here clearly. You're hoping that's going to be the leader?
Yeah, that one. Get it back to a single and then try and push it that way instead of growing straight up.
But it's going straight up at the moment. And look, the one next to it, same thing.
Yeah.
Only smaller. And so if you go down the road, look, it's the same all the way down.
Yeah.
You're growing totem poles.
Yep, they're 2.5 years old.
So this is what you don't like?
Yeah.
You'd rather it bush out?
They bushed up and then they can flop around in the wind. It just creates like a big sail.
Yeah.
So this variety might not be suitable for this soil type. but they do
possible.
Grow quite vigorously.
I mean, the literature says eventually it becomes a bit of a cylindrical tree.
Okay.
So that you get a bit of a cylindrical pattern and it's sort of mildly spreading.
That being said, the ones that are planted at Tim's look very much the same as the ones I planted out early on.
Yeah.
Here. But we'll go for a walk down there and I'll show you some ones I haven't touched much.
Sure. What's this?
A38, 203.
Right.
I couldn't get any 203s at the time, so I just planted more A38s.
See, 203 is the other one that's been planted in massive numbers, not just here but in Queensland.
These are a little bit slow to get going.
Yeah.
But once they do get going, you've got some
they
ones
take
down
off?
there. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They love a good feed. These ones here, they're just starting to flower. They're 18 months old.
Really?
I'll give them another go of compost around Christmas time.
Yeah.
And they'll take off. They'll be 6 foot high.
I can see the evidence of some fertilising down here.
Yep.
That's the nitrofosca.
That's the one.
So yeah, look, the nitrofosca, I've looked at that. I've been putting, recently I've just put some rustica on a few trees as an experiment because partly in response to what Garth said in terms of, farmers are getting bad results because they're not feeding their trees enough. I said, well, I'm going to test this. So in addition to the normal feeding, we've put down some rustica, same company, Campbell's, I think. Mm-hmm. But it's a more balanced compound fertiliser. Nitrofosca is very nitrogen heavy. Is that right?
I think it's 12% from memory. Maybe 14. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Well, rustic is 12%, so I suspect nitrofosca is probably a bit more.
All right.
But being nitrogen heavy is clever for babies. Yeah.
These are G's.
This is G again.
What they grow like.
But see, it's it's the same thing.
It's multiple litres.
Yeah.
My advice to anyone would be when you get them early on, just get them established for 6 months.
Yep.
And then get them back to a single litre.
Yeah.
And try and get them to branch out. But it's a new variety.
My G's have been slow to take off. I mean, they've only been in the ground 6 months, so I suppose give them a break. But it looks like they're only just barely healing in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do love a good feed.
But look at this. Look at this.
Upright.
Yeah. See, I'm feeding my babies with Osmocote at the moment, and look, I don't know whether I really should be doing. Maybe I should be doing a compound fertiliser like nitrofosca. It's a quicker hit. Are these
A38s
again? So yeah, it wants to be an upright tree, doesn't it?
But they're known for that.
Yeah,
that's what they do.
So did we miss out any varieties from the list?
No, we're going through them. They just repeat as you go down the hill.
Yeah.
And then every 7th row or 8th row, I think it is, we just chucked a new one in just to see what they would do.
Yeah. Is it a side discharge mower that you use to throw these, to throw the clippings under the trees?
Yeah, it's a Ferris, I think it's a 62 inch.
Right.
0-turn mower with a side discharge.
Yeah. It's kind of like mine, but I can't make these patterns. Maybe it's because you left the grass a fair while before cutting it.
Yeah, I'll probably do it twice a year.
Yeah. And this is
816.
816s. Right, so why 816? I mean, have you read the good and bad about them?
Yeah, but I've had more trouble with other varieties with Phytophthora and just like there's one here that's randomly died. It had a fungal infection or
I've had that.
God knows.
Crown fungus or crown gall or whatever it is, yeah.
Okay, this row here.
Now these are P.
Yeah.
You know, these are gimmies.
They're 2.5 years old and they're pretty slow growing.
Now that's interesting because I'm growing about 5 Ps total. It just as an experiment because it wasn't meant to do well in New South Wales.
Yeah.
This was for Bundaberg. This was recommended for Bundaberg only because in New South Wales they reckon the canopy became too dense. But that was on volcanic soil. Mm-hmm. So you might have a good go with these trees. Yeah.
They're very slow growing.
Are they?
Yeah.
But look at those leaves.
The other thing, they can be a bit
looks
hard.
Healthy.
Yeah, they can be a bit hard to establish.
Right. You lost a few in infancy?
A couple, yeah.
Yeah. And was this the next row as well?
No, they're 203s there again.
Right.
There's another row of P's further down and some J's.
Yeah, love to see the J's if they're not too far away.
I'll show you some of the better ones of those, but I'll need to get in and do some pruning. I've just let them go.
Well, this is the thing with my saplings. I I want to let them grow. I want them to grow as many leaves as possible and make a strong tree. But at some point, you've got to start chopping them,
Yeah, you do.
and guiding them. And some people say 2 years. Some people say earlier than that. I wonder what the sweet spot is, or maybe it varies by variety.
I think it does.
Yeah.
I'm still working that out.
Well, you're definitely learning as you go. I mean, this is living the dream, if you ask me. You've got this beautiful land, you've got this virgin paddock.
Mm-hmm.
Once this grows up, you'll know you've done every bit of this, and that must be intensely satisfying. This is a healthy fella.
Yeah,
816.
816.
816,
They do
right?
well here.
So they're quick to establish?
Yeah. Minimal problems.
I mean, they're liking what
pruning-
you're feeding them. There's no doubt they're liking what you're doing.
The pruning on it, I do need to get back onto. Like you were saying in one of your videos or in one of your comments, I think some growers have problems with them with funny growth and whatnot, like you were saying.
Well, they did great in trial grounds, and they're still one of the highest performing in the trial stuff. And I know Garth gets a good result out of them, but he's a gold standard farmer. But for others, though, the root ball is very small, and unless you're really keeping on babying them, they'll react to bad conditions much more quickly than other stronger trees will.
This is some bigger A38s. They're 2
Right.
years old.
Interesting that the leaves are starting to really narrow out on these. But they're keeping that upright. They're definitely an upright tree.
Yeah. They lose the odd limb here and there in the wind, so
Yeah.
I'm not really sure if they're suitable because it does get quite windy here, but we'll see what happens.
It's less humid here, surely? Less humid than the coastal areas, or
yeah,
not?
generally,
Right.
yes.
So you may get fewer problems with fungus.
Mm-hmm.
So out of what you've got, I'd say the 849, the A38. Actually, they're the two fungus-prone varieties you've got. I think the rest of them are okay. The 816, I don't know much, but
It's another row of them. Yeah.
this
They're
is
happy as 816, yeah.
this row here.
Yep.
Right. And this one seems to have lost every second tree. What's
Yeah,
going? What happened here?
They were 816 as well. The nursery I got them off at the time, with the poor quality control on that, there was just random tree varieties everywhere, so
Oh,
I had to go through and
weed some
make
out.
make it right.
Oh. Not Tim Hills, clearly.
No.
I like Tim's dedication to
That's
quality.
one
Yeah,
thing I can say to all the viewers:
yeah,
be very careful who you buy trees from.
yeah.
When I first started out doing this 3.5 years ago, I approached this company in Dunoon, and I said I wanted so many trees, and they come out and had a look, and next minute they wanted to get paid an hourly rate to do it. And it's like, well, I didn't have that on my radar. I certainly can't afford it
An hourly rate to do what?
to plant trees.
But you wanted to plant them yourself, didn't you? Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Anyway, 18 months of my time wasted later, and we find out, we pull a couple of trees out, and they've got mass circling. They've been going in the bags for way too long.
Yeah, look, you see it. Yeah. I mean, I've taken a couple of trees that had circling, thinking, look, I'll just try and tease the roots out, but it clearly is, it hamstrings them a bit.
Yeah, well, we use a post hole auger here, and we haven't had any problems. I just believe it's from sitting in the bags for too long, and the roots just get to go round and round.
That's the tractor way off in the distance, isn't it?
Yeah,
But
that's
it'll be too small for the viewers to see. But it's got a great big auger on the back. You say 10 inches wide.
Yeah, 10 inch.
And so 10 inches wide hole,
It leaves you a bit of room either side of your bag.
which is what you want.
If you go too big, like when I first started out, we used a big one,
Yep.
and we ended up with trees blowing around in the wind and
Okay.
soil compaction and that, and it was too hard to line them up in a straight row.
So there's a balance between supporting the root structure in a rigid hole versus having too rigid a hole that the roots can't penetrate.
Yeah,
Yeah. And 10 inches is the sweet spot.
depending on your bag size.
Right.
You wanna be able
Which
to-
is often an 8-inch pot, is it? Or 8-inch bag? Or
8 litre bag.
8 litre bag.
Standard.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. So as these fellas grow up, do you plan to herbicide the bases around the tree, or
That's what I've been doing. I have to keep doing it.
right?
Probably till they get this size, and then I can let them go.
And that's your Basta cocktail,
Yes,
And
that works very well.
which wouldn't really harm the maca trees.
Doesn't.
How do you avoid splashing the foliage with the herbicide? Or do you sometimes do...
I've got a little conical hood on the end of the sprayer.
Oh, right.
This
so the conical hood goes close to the ground?
Yeah, it's just a handheld with a 55 litre battery powered sprayer.
Right, so you're not zipping around on a quad bike like some people do?
Zero turn mower.
Oh, the zero turn mower, right. That's clever. And here on the flat, do you, I mean, I know driving here, there were some wet areas in terms of, obviously.
Down the bottom,
yeah. So this is the low point of your farm here, right? Does this ever get waterlogged?
It gets wet, but doesn't go underwater.
Right.
It take half a metre of rain. I think we had 300 mil.
Yeah.
Pretty boggy.
Yeah.
But in a couple of days, it's all dried out again once the grass has grown up.
Looks like we're in for some more rain too, by the looks of that.
Yeah, it does.
At least we are tomorrow by the forecasts. Yeah. Are there water sources around here if people wanted to use bore water and that sort of thing?
Yeah, that pump shed down there's got a bore in it.
Right.
Out the front of it.
So the water tables do hold some.
Yes.
Around here.
And there's a couple more on the other farm.
Yep. And I guess that's what the cattle farmers have used for watering their stock for years anyway.
These are some older 203s.
I can say they're very, very happy.
Yeah.
So really there's no leader in these yet?
Not yet. Some trees seem to do it, some don't.
But even that one there, and that one may have a leader further down, but how would you approach a prune on this tree here?
Well, Tim's going to come and grab some wood off these at some stage, so I
was going to cincture some. Yeah, yeah. So that's. I think from his video, that would be thick enough for cincturing.
Yeah,
that kind of a branch.
He recommended tip pruning for this variety, but it's another one we sort of haven't really got our head around at the moment. But they seem happy enough. I'll just let them go and get what I get off them.
Yeah. Yeah, they become quite a bushy tree. My agronomist sent me through a photo of some A203s in flower. Honestly, they look like Christmas trees. Yeah. They had so many flowers on them, it wasn't funny. But I don't see flowers on these fellas yet. Or are there any, baby?
Actually, there are.
Yeah.
I was just up here the other day and there was a few here and there.
I don't see too many pests either, Matt. I mean, there's the odd leaf miner. You see a tiny bit of leaf miner damage, but the other pests like twig girdlers and stuff, you're not getting those?
Get them.
You do get them?
Leaf miner, twig girdler, monolepta beetles.
Oh, that's a new one, right.
Which they're, I think the Macca Society calls them red-shouldered leaf beetle.
Yes.
Little yellow beetle with a red shoulder.
Right.
But
now,
their scientific name is monolepta something.
I'm going to take your word for it. but what have you had to ever spray or?
No, not yet.
Because the pest levels just aren't enough to disturb the tree, really.
No, not at this stage.
No.
We might try and get some lacewings in February because last year the twig girdler was a little bit out of control.
Yeah, look, I'm a big fan of the lacewings. The key with lacewings, though, is to get something it can feed on when there's no pests around, and that's why I've been planting clover as a ground cover, because they'll eat clover pollen if you get there, if you sort of do that. But look, I've just spied down the row here. You've got some holes dug and some baby trees, so we might.
Expansion.
This is the expansion. Let's have a look.
There's actually a tree down here. There's a couple of these are in flower.
Yep.
We might zoom in, but this is probably the best example to show on video. The flower's just starting to pop out.
Yeah.
There's a few more there.
That's the guaranteed sign of flower.
There's some more in there.
Right in amongst the leaves there.
And these trees are 2.5.
They might even give you a few nuts.
We got some nuts last year. It was only a handful.
Yep.
Of one tree down here, but 18 months, flowers on it, nuts at 2.
Oh well, something for the kitchen table.
Yeah, we just didn't have enough of them planted. So.
Yeah. So I guess, working your long hours in Western Australia, do you often find the farm on your mind and wanting to come back here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gives me a reason not to be at work.
I'll tell you, it is, look, it grabs you by the soul, this stuff. It really is, an antidote to so much of what us busy people do. Are these all A203s?
Yeah, they were planted a little bit later.
Right. I was going to say they definitely,
Yeah, we got through a batch of A203 stock back there, and then these holes sat for another 12 months before we got some more.
Yeah. And so you may have told me, but what's on order from Tim? What are you really going for next? Or was it 849s or?
Yeah, so he's got to fill. It's pretty much all the same.
Yep.
We have a south block over the back that we're going to plant at 7 metres.
Yeah.
Now, because it's south facing, doesn't get much sun.
No.
And my mother, being a horticulturalist, she suggested 10 metre rows, which I agree with.
Yeah.
But that's going to take way too long to come into production. So I decided on a 7 metre row.
Yeah.
The same as your farm setup.
Yeah.
And then 10, 15 years down the track, row 2 and 3, bush that out.
Yeah.
Plant one up the guts, and then you end up with your 10 metre row.
What some farmers do in their new planting is they'll plant an early cropping variety like the 203
That's exactly what we're doing.
or the A4, and that's a sacrificial row, but they pull that up and then end up with 14.7.
Those two varieties are exactly what we're planting.
Oh.
We're going to try every 2 metres instead of 4.
Yeah, some people are doing 2.9 metre spacing now. I don't know why 2.9 or why they guess that. I don't know that I'm a huge fan of it, but I mean, if a tree bumps into another tree, it's going to grow up. It doesn't really know whether it's been planted
No, it won't.
8 metres apart from another tree along the row. But so here's some of the holes that your auger digs.
Yeah.
Right, so you're going down.
Oh, probably about 2 foot or so.
Yeah.
You can see it's quite
Yes,
crumbly.
this is.
It needs organic matter.
It's definitely not volcanic soil, but it's good stuff.
Yeah, it is.
I don't see much evidence of clay, Matt.
There is in patches, like it's the actual soil structure itself's got a fair bit of clay in it.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess when it's wet, you'll find out. But
Yeah.
yeah.
and you get heavy stuff here and there and everywhere.
And that's all been hand measured.
Yep.
And you mowed before drilling?
Yeah, mow it like a golf course,
Yep.
and then I run a wire down.
Yeah.
So parallel measurements, 8 metres either end,
Yeah.
and then just check the centre.
Yeah.
Once the wire's under tension and I've checked all the measurements,
Yep.
I go along the wire with these little bamboo markers I make with pink paint on them.
Yeah.
The tape measure every 4 metres.
Right.
Once that's done, I take the tension off the wire and move it to the next row, come along with a tractor,
Yep.
drop the auger on each marker.
So you end up with a bunch of markers,
Yep.
and then you come along with the auger and they just drill and
Yeah,
you
just-
destroy the bamboo thing as you go.
Sacrificial markers. I get some bamboo
Yeah.
stakes from Bunnings. I think it's $3 for a pack of 10, and I end up with 100 or so.
I know the ones. Yeah, yeah. Some of them are crappy. God knows where they got them, but they serve a purpose though.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's some brand new planted babies.
Yeah, A38s.
Okay, and you're continuing here along the row that you've planted before.
Yep,
They definitely look like A38s.
Yeah, they're nearly 3 years old. They're the first batch I got from Tim.
Right, really. Well, they look good.
Yeah.
And when would you first apply the chemical fertiliser to these babies? At how far in would you let the roots establish first?
What I'll do is I'll go along and plant, a block of trees out or a couple of rows,
Yeah,
and then we do it every, I think it's 3 months.
yeah,
So I'll just do it in the next run.
right.
So whether that's a month or 2 months or 6 weeks.
Who knows? Yeah, and you're not chucking fertiliser in the planting hole other than that water crystal mixture and
Compost.
a bit of compost.
I
Yeah,
am putting a handful of dynamic lifter on top of the root ball.
on top of the root ball, but not underneath.
Yep.
Yeah,
That way, with gravity, with the rain, all the nutrients wash.
hopefully
straight
wash
into
down.
the root ball.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I've been putting a handful of Osmocote in underneath the plant when I planted and then another one on top for the same kind of reason. Look, I don't know if it's the right thing. All I know is that people like Tim use Osmocote to raise their saplings, and they're probably used to getting it. So
Well, the soil chemistry and potting mix
yeah,
are 2 different things.
of course.
And the other thing too is, in the grower's book, it suggests not to actually add nitrogen or fertiliser to the hole.
At planting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think...
Yeah, maybe that's right.
And when I say compost too, people have different terms for compost. Some people, raw animal manure. My mum tried planting a heap of trees up on the hill last year with cow manure.
Yeah.
And she wondered why they all died.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I define compost as vegetable matter, but
Well-
I've never really defined it as manure. So,
If-
but that's because we have a compost heap, and you tip out the kitchen scraps, and that's compost.
That's right. Yeah, if you're going to use compost in the hole, don't use any raw manures. Make sure it's gone through the full 16-week
Exactly.
process. of heating up and turning.
Yeah.
And that way
it's effectively dead then.
Yeah, well,
pathogens are gone.
It's not that. I think it's more the ammonia in the manures that'll burn the roots.
Right. And ammonia's the part that stinks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, fair enough.
Anyway, I'll show you some jays down the bottom here.
Yeah, let's have a look at those. And then, is that a compost pile I'm seeing up ahead?
Yes. So that's the cow manure base one that we dress the trees with.
You get that delivered and then just dumped there?
Yeah.
Right.
And that'll probably move somewhere else next year.
So it's not coming in those 1 tonne bulker bags or anything like that?
No, it's 30-tonne truck and dog.
Yeah. You can get truck and dogs here, yeah. I'm envious of that. That's a limitation in my place. Right. We've got all these wonderful little windy roads which truck and dogs just don't like, and they then can't turn around. So do you think you're going to start a craze? Are people looking at, potentially planting macadamia farms out here? The land's cheaper if it works. It's flatter.
Yeah.
It's not the Alstonville Plateau in terms of popularity, but...
Maybe it can be a bit hit and miss here with frost.
Yeah.
Like where we're standing, it'd take a really cold year for the frost to come up here.
Right.
But down on the flat or the other side of that hill over there, the frost will come up every year.
Okay.
So
you've got to watch the frost zone.
Yeah.
Do you know what the altitude of this area is, roughly? Yeah, no, that's okay.
I know our neighbours looked into it.
Yeah.
They're planting macas there, but...
They could almost plant pecans around here too if it did get frosty.
Pecans is something else we're considering.
Yeah.
But these are jays.
I was going to say, this is different to everything I've seen so far. So this is the jay.
Mm-hmm.
The cross between I think it's the A16 and the 781. And you can almost see the A16 style leaves come out. So what do you think of this? What do you think of the jays?
I like these.
Yeah. They're less popular, but I don't see why. They've got a big kernel recovery, they're a very big nut.
Yep.
And I think it's reasonably quick to bear as well, but not quite as rock star in terms of money per hectare as the G.
Yeah.
So, and very hard to graft apparently.
Okay.
Yeah, they're very difficult to graft. But yeah, look, it's one of the ones that supposedly does well in our area and also in the Bundaberg area.
Seems happy enough here.
These are how old?
2.5.
Right, and they're just over 6 foot.
Yep.
Some of these.
Nice bushy round shape on them.
Any casualties in the young'uns, or
No, not one.
Right, so that's an indication of their vigour. Not always, of course, but and they seem to bush out a bit.
Yeah.
So no real leader. Oh no, there's one. There's a leader in there that's probably trying to get ahead of the others. And they like growing tall. Apparently very good canopy efficiency. So that's interesting.
They're probably my pick.
The jays?
Yeah, with the MCT ones so far.
Yeah. Yeah, look, the reason I'm sort of leaning towards the R's is that, they're less glamorous in terms of stats. They're only about 37% kernel recovery, but they've got medium husk, medium shell, and the way things are going, according to my agronomist, is that these nastier, stronger pesticides that people rely on now, we're not going to be able to use them in 5 years' time.
Okay.
People just won't stand for it. And the diazonons and all that, the heavy, the organophosphates will be gone. And what worries my agronomist is that the real thin-shelled, thin-husked varieties that rely on lots of maintenance from the farmer to get past the pests every year, he reckons they're going to be a bit of a liability. Unless, of course, we come up with new generation pesticides which fix everything. So he's wary of the MCT1 and he's wary of G because they're both in the category of thin shell, thin husk. He's more in favour of the R, which is a tougher, safer bet. But I don't know that he's in the majority of opinion because clearly, based on what people are ordering, that they don't agree with that. And R's not too popular, but look, they seem vigorous enough, my little babies.
Definitely some forward thinking there in that statement.
Well, yeah, but look, so many people planted A16s on the basis that they were the latest thing, and they ended up cursing them and saying, "Oh, these new varieties are a load of crap. They do well in the trial grounds, and then they give them to farmers in real life, and it doesn't work."
I think that's going to happen with some of these newer varieties in certain areas, but
but you've spread your risk.
Yes.
Yeah. You've clearly spread your risk with all this stuff. And it is at the point where if you had to remove a row of badly performing trees, you'd know what you've got.
It's nothing, yeah.
And you can replant if it got to that. Well, Matt, this is wonderful. and it can go all the way out there. You've got the hill over there.
Yep. Another hill over there, and towards the front of the property. I won't plant down here, it gets too wet.
Yeah.
You can see there's a dam there behind the compost pile.
I can see, yeah, with that tree. But if you ever planted it out fully, how many trees would you be looking at if you assumed Macca's was everything?
So it's 84 hectares here.
That's a big farm.
Be around 20,000 trees.
It would be, wouldn't it?
And then we've got, it's probably not suitable, but we've got over the hill as well. You know, you could plant pecans or whatever, and then over the other side of the hill. So there's 550 acres here all up.
Yeah.
Between 3 blocks.
But you've got that much flat land, you could almost just stick with the flat. And
I think this is a pretty nice sort of slope and that I've picked.
And you've not at any stage had trouble getting people out here to do things because you're further away from the actual, the Northern Rivers elite, as it were.
Oh, I've got a friend from school that comes out every month or two and goes around with a mower.
Yeah.
I might get him to do one fertiliser application in September for me.
Yeah.
And that's just a bit of cash money for him.
Maybe you should ask him if he wants to be my friend as well. Yeah.
Oh, if you want.
No. Look, if I give up mowing, I know I'll then be a completely hands-off farmer. I have to mow. I have to do something.
Yeah,
so
it's that, and the only other job I get a hand with is to plant the trees when we've got 500 or so sitting up in the yard.
Yeah.
2 people, we plant 100 trees a day, mulch and compost them.
Yeah.
And then never have to touch them again. Unless one dies, of course, but that's just part of the game.
Well, Matt, it's a really pioneering effort. I just, having driven past so much country that's cattle and people have just stuck with cattle for clearly generations, to see something like this and doing so well, like it's almost like, why exactly but why, you either starting a craze or you're just thinking outside the box and it's working for you, because I can't wait to see them crop. It'd be absolutely fascinating to see.
We should have a few more nuts this year with those 203s.
Yeah, absolutely. And the MCT ones the year after that. Yeah, beautiful. Well, it's a privilege to see something as bold and successful as this, and I really appreciate you inviting me onto the farm today, and I hope the rest of the viewers enjoy seeing something out of the box like this, because it really, we wouldn't get the chance unless you'd invited me on. So,
not a problem.
Yeah,
it's great to have you. If anyone's got any questions, throw them in the comments, and I'll be happy to answer them.
That's right, Matt. I'll let you answer those comments, and I'll just watch the questions roll in. Cheers, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.